Hi students, and welcome to this session. In this session, we are going to talk about the major changes that have been announced with respect to Snap 26. I'll be taking you through the important dates and the format change that has happened and what are the implications of that as for you as a test taker. So let's begin. Now, firstly, the registration process will start on 21st August. For a while, we were waiting for this update. In fact, we were expecting Snap notification to be released in the first week of August itself. Typically, that has been the case in the last couple of years, but that didn't happen. There was a bit of a speculation that because of the delay, there could be some changes that might be happening. But finally, here is the update. So the registration will start on 21st August. This will continue till 25th November. So there's enough time for you to register. If I go to the important date section, you will see the registration and payment closes on 25th November. So a lot of time, and you can decide whenever you want to register. The registration process for the test and the test accepting institutes is an integrated process. So the way you have for XAT, some of you may have filled the XAT form, where you apply for XAT, and in the same form you can add which all XLRI programs you're going to apply for. Of course, there are a lot of other institutions there, so that's a slightly different thing. But here, all the Symbiosis institutes that accept the SNAP score, you will have that application integrated within SNAP form itself. So when you fill the SNAP form, after that, you will see all the program list. Of course, we'll be covering all of this in the detailed form filling guideline video, which we will make on the 21st August. So I hope all of you will watch it. And you can apply for all of those programs. You can add programs later as well. But there's a lot of detailing to that. So make sure that you watch that form filling video. Now, for now, let's look at the dates. So SNAP will be conducted 3 times, the way it has been in the last several years. The best of the 3 raw scores that you get will be used for final percentile calculation. You will also see these details mentioned on the website. So the first SNAP will be conducted on 13th December, which is a Sunday. Then second will happen after 6 days, which is 19th December, that's a Saturday. And then 26th December, which is going to be a Saturday. So these are the 3 SNAP dates. Now you can register for 1, 2 or all 3 attempts. The best raw performance that you produce, that will be used for final percentile calculation. So there is no normalization. This is something that is explicitly mentioned on the SNAP website. The announcement of result will happen on 12th Jan 2027. Okay, so these are the important dates. Now you can go through some of the other sections that are out there in terms of eligibility and all of that. But the important thing that I'm going to focus on for this particular session is going to be the test structure. So the structure has undergone a very big change. Now, till last year or for the last several years, they have had a fixed format, which is 60-minute, 60 questions, and the marking scheme is +1 and -0.25. Now, what you see here, the format that used to be there, English section used to have 15 questions earlier. So now if you see the general English section and you can see the number of questions, it has been reduced to 10 questions. So instead of 15, which was the case earlier, you're going to have 10 questions now. With respect to analytical and logical reasoning section, which used to have 25 questions, now you're going to have 20 questions in this particular section. And with respect to quant section, which used to have 20, you will have 20 questions. So no change in terms of number of questions in quant, but the number of questions of VA as well as the analytical and logical reasoning section, that has gone down by 5 each. So what happened to those 10 questions? They are going to be asked for this particular section, which is ethics, morality, and values. So this new section, and we exactly don't know at this point of time what sort of questions will be asked. You're going to have 10 questions in this particular section. So it's still a 60-minute, 60 question paper. That has not changed. The way it used to be earlier, wherein you can jump from one question to another, one section to another, all of those things will continue to be there. So that's not going to change. They have given the marking scheme, etc. So you can go through that. This is just a repetition of what we just discussed. But here, if you see this, each wrong answer attracts 25% negative marks. So the negative marking is constant. That hasn't changed the way it used to be earlier. And what they've also given, right, is if you look at this particular side, you will see that candidate can appear for up to 3 tests, which used to be the case earlier as well. If you appear for more than 1 test, the higher score will be considered for percentile calculation. There is no normalization, which means that if you're a serious candidate, you should be attempting 2 snaps or maybe 3 snaps. If you attempt all of them, then great, nothing like it. But if there is any constraint for whatever reasons you want to appear for 2, you can do that. If you're appearing for only 1 attempt, right, there is a little bit of element of luck that is involved for sure in terms of what sort of score will you get and the difficulty of the paper, because though they have mentioned that they take a lot of care in terms of ensuring that the paper difficulty remains constant across the 3 attempts, the past data proves otherwise, right? So we know that there have been years when some particular test has been easier compared to some of the other tests that have happened. So I would say plan for 2 or 3 attempts. That's the best thing that somebody can do. And again, coming back to the format change. Now the new section, right, what would be my expectation? And again, it's too early to talk about that, but this particular section, ethics, morality and values, uh, it's a bit of a surprise, I would say, because if I look at all the entrances in the last several years, right, and I've been doing it for a very long time, generally when a new section gets introduced, right, it has to have some sort of a purpose. So if you look at CMAT, for example, which long time back introduced a section called innovation and entrepreneurship. The first year in which they introduced that section, they kept it optional for people. So you could decide not to attempt it. And there was a separate percentile that was also given. And then they made it part of the test. But because a lot of those questions are borderline GK related to business, it made sense. I haven't seen a lot of tests introducing major changes in the last several years. But now Snap, considering this section that they have introduced, of course, they would have thought about it. It's not something that suddenly randomly somebody decided that let's have a new section. So one thing that can happen, right, is one is you may have some, it can have, let's say, a passage which is related to a particular case that is given. I would not call it a passage, but maybe a case where you have to answer some questions which are borderline decision making questions, right? Because ultimately, if you think of, say, even paper like ZAT, which has a decision making section, that decision making bit is relevant for MBA students. So when you look at ethics, morality and values, my guess is that they will have questions wherein you need to say, take some sort of a decision. A case is given to you and it could be moral dilemmas or ethical dilemmas, and you have to take a call as a manager, or it could be outside the corporate environment as well. So that could be there. It could be standalone questions. It could be case-based questions. It's too early to talk about it, but that would be my expectation from this particular section. Now, as an aspirant, should you be worried about this? My answer is no. You don't have to be worried about this because firstly, Snap also gives official mock, okay, and those are free mocks that they have. That mock, whenever it happens, it will give us the exact format as to what sort of questions are going to be there. So we'll get to know. Of course, it's not a reflection of the difficulty. We have seen that the official mock that they provide is not a reflection of the difficulty of Snap. Because they have a lot of questions with errors and different difficulty levels and so on. So I would not take the difficulty of the test as the final thing, but at least it will give me this particular format of the test, and I will get to know what sort of questions are being asked in the ethics section. Okay. What we are also going to do at IMS is all our mocks. So we firstly used to give 10 mocks, 10 Snap mocks till last year. This year, anyway, we had planned to have 12 mocks for all the students. So you will be getting 2 additional mocks. And all the mocks now will have this new format that they've announced. So we'll be updating all the mocks with this particular section. And we are going to provide variety. So we will create different scenarios, different kinds of format till the time we get to know something about this. So we'll also reach out to the institute to understand more about this as to exactly what they are planning to ask, and post that we'll be updating our mocks. Okay, so don't worry. As an aspirant, I don't think you should be worried at all, because any new section, it will create some surprise. I know, I understand that. So there will be a little bit of anxiety around it, but we still have enough time before we get there. So the test is a few months away from now, enough time to practice. And generally what we have observed is that whenever a new section gets introduced, it would not be very, very difficult, especially something like this, which is more like decision making kind of a situation. So don't worry, that's going to be my advice, and don't panic, more importantly. But what ideally they should have done is they should not have kept this particular section at the same weightage as something like general English, right? So maybe that is one thing that they could have worked on, where instead of being like a 60 question paper, they could have made it a 70 question paper, instead of reducing the weightage of the general English and the analytical logical reasoning. At least that is my preference. That would have been my preference, but it is what it is, right? So if they've introduced a new section and reduced weightage from the other 2 sections, so be it. Okay, so let's not think too much around it. What we are going to do is we will be updating our mocks, and they will be released as per the ADMAT test availability calendar, which is again there on the IMS website. One student has asked a question whether IMS portal have mocks. So of course we'll be having mocks, but because of this new section, we'll be updating all the mocks and then only release them. Okay, so we still have some time before we get there. And as I said, we'll also reach out to the institute, the conducting body, and ask them for specific details if they can share anything. Otherwise, in mocks, we will try and give you different flavors. There will be some mocks with more case-based questions, some with sort of small direct questions with 4 or 5 sentences, and then there is a follow-up question based on that. But mostly, the current guess is that this will be like a situational decision-making kind of questions. Okay. All right, so that's the major change that I wanted to share with all of you. I hope this quick video has helped. Just to summarize for those of you joined in late, compared to last year or last several years, there are few things that will remain the same. 3 tests in December, 13th, 19th and 26th. You can take 1, 2 or all 3 attempts if you want. The best raw score gets used for final percentile calculation. So there is no normalization as explicitly mentioned on the SNAP website. So all of those things have not changed. What has changed is the format of the test from a 60-minute, 60-question paper. It is still that, but the breakup had changed. A new section has been introduced. The weightage has gone down for general English from 15 to 10 and for analytical from 25 to 20. Quant, 20 questions will remain 20 questions, but a new section on ethics, morality and values has been added. So that's the quick summary of the discussion that we had. But as I said, for students, absolutely no reason to panic. We have a lot of time ahead of us. Okay. What kind of material can be referred for the new section? Okay, so generally we'll of course come up with material because this has just been announced, right? It got announced a couple of hours back. So the entire academic team will sit, will plan out, will ensure that you get some material to prepare for this, which will be available in my IMS. And of course, all the mocks will also get updated. Can you discuss the negative marking in the exam? Yes, so the negative marking has always been, the marking scheme is +1 and -0.25. That will be there, so that's not going to change. One question about the percentage conversion in Mumbai University. Do we use the MU formula? Of course you do that. So not relevant to this particular video, but those of you are filling any form, whether it is CAT, SNAP, NMAT, whatever, right? Follow the guidelines that are given by your university in terms of percentage, CGPA to percentage conversion. As I said, for SNAP, we will have video on 21st August, the date on which the official form filling will begin. We will have a form filling video wherein we'll cover entire SNAP as well as the institute program application process with all of you. Thank you so much for joining in. I wish all of you all the best and I'll see you soon. Bye. Take care.